have a great episode locked in.
Yeah.
I think this artist is someone who has been on the rise, someone who's great in the forefront and behind.
For sure.
Hear his voice in a lot of different songs and hear a lot of songs he's produced, and he's here on the 116 Life. We have Melodic B in the building.
Yo.
What's going on, man? How you feeling?
I'm good. Can't complain.
Listen, we're happy to have you. Go ahead. Let's go ahead and like dive into what life looks like for you right now. Talk about what the season of life looks like for you right now.
The word for this year, I would say, is intentionality and discipline. So I'm trying to at least be very intentional with my relationships, what I'm praying for, and just what's going to move the needle forward in my personal life and also in business and music or whatever the case may be. So, yeah.
What brought you to those two words for the year?
I honestly don't know. I would like to say it's, I guess, something that the Holy Spirit dropped into my spirit, that those are two things I need to work on. And like in being intentional, I feel like it's just paying attention and focusing on what the moment is, and being careful with my words, because those mean life.
Careful with your words.
And like I said, praying for the right things. And that's just being, I think that's my way of being in line with the Holy Spirit. I'm going to be intentional with praying for the things that you want me to pray for.
Yeah.
That's good.
Right? So,
that's good.
Yeah.
Talk about discipline. I'm not gonna lie to you. You kind of hit it on that one for me. We could all use a little bit more discipline. Talk about practically what that looks like in your life right now. We're trying to focus on that.
So discipline for me right now specifically means waking up earlier. I'm trying to get in the gym, right? So just being, disciplined about like getting in there every day, what I'm eating, checking on loved ones, like little small stuff like that. Reading, praying on a consistent level, which I think is a lot of things that our age group kind of struggle with now, is just being disciplined in reading and praying. But yeah, that's pretty much it. When
it comes to intentionality and discipline, is there any way where you're maybe thinking of how you're honing in on that career-wise, like with music and things of that nature?
Oh, yes. All the time. It's a funny thing, I was speaking with Ace before this, and I asked him, how does he separate just his personal life and just being, how does he balance it? One thing that I've been working on this year is separating what ministry is from time that I need to be fixing myself. I think ministry is us pouring out as leaders or artists or producers. We're always giving something to somebody. But when is the time that I'm able to take in and be poured back into? And it can be so specific as time. I'm going to spend this many hours in the studio, and this hour is God. This is me and the Father. You know what I'm saying?
That's good. Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I asked you that question.
For sure.
So
what does what made you kind of think through that? Like the idea of being disciplined and also giving yourself time to kind of be fed and be poured into.
Well, I think it's very easy in this space. It's very easy to make what we do a God. Dang. And we start to lose ourselves.
That's good.
And he'll be quick to show us like, yo, I gave this to you. I can take it away just like that. And it's not, I want to get back in good with God so I can keep all that he gave me. It's like, I'm losing myself. I'm losing the great relationships that God gave me. God, I don't even feel the same. I don't have joy doing this thing that you gave me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Joy.
And if it's not joy, it's not from him. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
That's so much. Good. You preaching right now.
Just dropping beats and bars at the same time, man. I want to kind of dive into the music side of things first with you, Melodic, only because I know Ace and I can both speak to the same, just like being fans of your music and just like hearing it and seeing the growth and success that you've had. Were you exposed to music at a young age? Like where did the love of music kind of fall in for your life?
Oh my goodness. Since I can remember. I'm a PK. My father is a pastor, and also the minister of music at my home church, and my mother's a singer. So from cousins to, of course, family, immediate family, grandparents, it's all music is just surrounded. So I kind of didn't have a choice, right? So I want to started getting serious about just kind of doing it as a career early high school. But it was it's just what we did from a young age, like going to church, singing in the choir, playing the drums, just going to sheds and all type of stuff. So it's just,
is there an instrument you don't play? Because you listed like 5 instruments. And then you play
drums,
guitar. You play
a little bit of keys, just to get by. Bass, guitar. I think that's pretty much it.
You the whole band.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And
you got it's a lot of other stuff. But nah, he's blessed me with those gifts for sure.
And when you said in high school you kind of like started doing, was it you being a producer first that kind of spoke to you? What was your first, I'm going to pursue some kind of music, profession thing?
So funny thing is, and a lot of producers can probably speak about the same thing. When I first started out, I was terrible. So a lot of people weren't trying to rap and sing on my beats. I was the only one. So I'm like, if ain't nobody else gonna do it, I'll do it. So over time, I started to learn my sound, started to see what I like. And of course, you spend time doing something, over and over, you're gonna get better at it. So eventually, whether it's basketball teammates wanting to rap on beats or just people, stop me in the hallway, hey, yo, send me some beats. I started to kind of make a name around school for this beat maker. Okay. Right? So now I'm crafting records for these people, local people who are not all great artists. So working with not so great artists, trying to make something cool out of it, you get better at that too. So,
for sure.
That's pretty much it, man.
And were you Melodic B back then?
I was Melodic B from the start.
Oh,
bro.
Man, sometimes people had those like...
Those funny story about that. Yeah. The first song I dropped was called Rockin' With You. It's a secular song. I'm really not talking about crazy stuff, but it just wasn't Christian, of course. It was called Rockin' With You. I was playing some beats for my dad in the car one day, and he was like, you making all these melodic beats? I need to call you Melodic B. It went in one ear, out the other. It wasn't until I was on DistroKid about to upload my first song, and I'm like, I have no artist name.
That's crazy.
That's the first name I thought about, and I put it in, and I just kept it.
That's dope, man.
Yeah.
So like you pretty much, music has just been a part of your like upbringing and your family.
Pretty much.
I mean, what is your thoughts on some of the artists who are church musicians? Like, talk about how impactful being a church musician is to being an artist. And this is like bigger, this goes beyond Christian artists. I feel like some of the best artists in the world got their crafts in the church. Talk about that.
I mean, think about it. Some of the best singers and keyboard players, bass players, they grew up in church. I mean, you talk about Whitney, church. Talk about Jasmine Sullivan, church. Like true. Everybody. I mean, Brandy, church. That's my favorite singer. So church has a...
And when you say church, for people who are like a little bit ignorant on how that looks, is church, is it training? Is it freestyle? How is the musicianship being developed? It seems like, give it like a breakdown what that looked like, especially for those who are probably watching, like the black church context. What does a church musician look like? The mentorship, the development? Most
of the time, if it's I grew up in a smaller black church. Most of the time, what that looks like is there's a need for a keyboard player, and nobody knows how to play keys. So there's a 7-year-old that knows how to play the C scale, and then
this is great.
When he's 17, he's been playing all of those years, and now he's a beast. So now you got these people like Justin Timberlake, yo, come play for me on the road, or whether it's this huge church, like these, they just started out playing. It was no pressure. It's just, I guess, genuine training.
Or was it like classical training, formal training?
Most of the time, no.
Most of the time, no. But those to me, those be some like the most like innovative musicians.
Classical musicians?
No, the ones who are not classically trained. Because they're pulling from a source that's not so rigid that they can do things that the classically trained person may be too bound to explore in. You know what I'm saying?
I tell you the most dangerous musician though. A musician who grew up in church and got trained classically. It's insane. I work at a church now. The keyboard player that plays at our church, he's like that.
Oh, that's crazy.
And when I say insane, his name is, shout out Sam, man.
Shout out Sam.
Sam is insane, bro. It's unlike anything I've ever heard. It's just, jazzy chords, classical chords, gospel chords. It's just whatever you want. He got it. And it's not distracting, of course, but I'm a musician, so I pay attention to all of that.
Sure. And would you say like for you, they just essentially, they needed a keyboard player, and you were one of the kids that kind of found his way to that keyboard?
For me, that was a drum.
The drums.
So I was never the main drummer. It was like when the main drummer was not there, I was the one. I'm Minister of Music's child. Like I'm like, yo, let me play. And I was terrible, of course, when I was younger. You keep playing, bro. You get better.
You just kind of figured it out.
Yeah, you just figure it out.
That's amazing.
Yeah, pretty much.
How grateful are you for those lessons? Like, what were the biggest things you learned being in the church, being nurtured there, mentored there when it came to music?
Those lessons mean everything. I think the main lesson I've been able to learn, which is kind of cool, it kind of takes it into a life situation too, is being able to adjust on the whim. And I'll go back to a lot of smaller Black churches. It's not a lot of, we didn't have planning center. It was just like, it was testimony service. Somebody started a song that you probably don't know and you got to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And so, that allows, I feel like, the Holy Spirit to come in and just disrupt the whole thing, and you follow or you get left behind, so just being able to adjust on the whim, and that follows in life. It's not, you may be able to plan, but when life kind of shifts, are you able to, adjust?
That's interesting because I feel like you obviously have a lot of gifts.
Yeah.
And do you see yourself more as a producer, a musician, or like an artist? Like how do you see
all three?
All three.
Nah, just playing. Well, yeah, I would say all three. Definitely more of a producer. I think that's shifting though.
Okay.
Don't tell nobody. But I think that's shifting.
He said no more beats for sale, y'all. Y'all better get it
shifting. Lately, I've enjoyed having other producers to kind of come in. I kind of tell them what I'm looking for. They kind of craft what they do, and I'm just off of inspiration, off of what they're doing. I'm going in and kind of laying my parts down. So that's been kind of cool to see. And it'll all unfold of what God is doing, but that's been pretty
interesting.
cool.
Like I feel like the artists like you who are a special type, I call them the 100%ers. As in, shout out to people like Forrest Frank.
Yeah.
Shout out to people like What Up RG.
Man,
they can basically, you guys can write, produce, record, and your own music. You don't really need anybody else to make a record.
Right.
And it's like, I think it's cool to hear you be able to have that and still like seek out collaborators. Talk about how do you wear that 100%er hat as an artist, producer, musician?
At the end of the day, I'm a student, man. And like I said, I started out kind of just my own. I had to figure it out. This is something I wanted to do. Didn't really have a lot of help, so I had to figure it out. I'm a student though. I think as far as being intentional, one thing I'm trying to be intentional about is what makes these great producers great producers. What makes these great engineers, great songwriters, songwriters, and take all of that and figure out how that can work for me, right? And even the small stuff, like I may be even going off topic. I think this is pretty cool. Yeah. Even the small stuff, like if I bring an artist in and immediately they start talking, I'm like, okay, they like to get comfortable around the room by talking. If they have their shoes on and then take their shoes off before they start recording, notepad. Maybe let's try to take my shoes off when I'm recording and see if that makes me more comfortable while I'm recording. You know what I'm saying? Little small stuff.
You're really soaking up. You're a student.
Yeah, I'm a student, bro. I think you have to be.
That's so. I think we've said on this podcast a few times.
Yeah.
For some of my, this may sound like an uncle statement, but I think it's helpful for young creators, musicians, anybody that's aspiring and around people who they see themselves as something they want to look up to. And something Trip Lee has said before, it's just so powerful. He said, "I want younger people to posture themselves more as a student."
Oh wow.
And less as a knowing everything. Yeah. And so that and as a learner, because even for the people who are really talented, if you posture yourself as a student, you're more likely to like glean some nuggets. Yeah. But if you come in knowing everything, people are less likely to pour. They're like, okay, well you got everything. So
eventually you'll die out, man.
Yeah.
You'll die out.
I think the student posture is not limited to young people. I feel like when I'm around some young artists like you, I'm listening to like, yo, how you get them that vibe like that? What drum? I'm just curious because I want to learn how you arrived at your creative output.
Facts.
And I think that's how we all kind of get better. Yeah. But what's your last name, bro?
Gibbs.
Yeah, boy, that's a Mississippi last name.
I'm talking about if that ain't down south, I don't know what it is.
It's like you gotta say it Gibbs.
It's not Gibbs, it's Gibbs.
Boy,
Gibbs.
Silent Y.
Silent Y, right? Yeah. Yo, I think people. So you're from Mississippi.
I am,
and I'm a Georgia boy. Meah, you a Georgia girl. I'm trying to like be kind because in the southern states, I feel like people from Atlanta feel like we like the creme de la creme of the South a little bit. So I'm trying to be gentle, like for Mississippians. Like we look at Mississippi with a certain lens that is getting better. Because I met you in Mississippi, and
I've heard it all,
and I'm
bro.
like, oh, this actually is.
I've heard it all. So
talk about Mississippi.
No, hold on. You talk about your first time going to Mississippi. Like, what was from what you thought it was to like?
So to be fair, that was my second. That was my third time. I went there as a kid. So my dad, who was a minister, rest in peace, Bishop Harris, his mentor in the ministry was a guy named Warren Booker, who I'm named after. So my first name is Warren. He's a Methodist minister that was like a bishop in that from Mississippi. So I've spent 2 to 3 times in Mississippi and I remember, and even back then I was like, okay, it's a little different. Yeah. It's a little, and his country, his draw was like real
deep.
I mean, Queen, crawfish. Yeah. We was in Mississippi, right?
In the South,
we was doing it. So when I met you in Tupelo, is that the right?
Well, Saltillo, Tupelo, same deal.
I was like, oh, this is a little bit more developed than what I experienced. But yeah. Go ahead.
Man.
So I had a good time in Mississippi.
So what was the question? I'm sorry.
No. Talk about what's your defense of the Mississippi vibe for people like me and Meah who be throwing shade on the
look
on the southern state. You know what I'm saying?
I take no heart. I've heard it all.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is, I may be biased.
Okay. Yeah.
Mississippi has some of the best food, some of the best musicians.
Okay.
Some of the best singers that may not get the light of day, but I mean, we got some beasts, y'all.
I can see that. I can see that. Mississippi is like,
I mean, you got to think about it. Like blues came from Mississippi.
Love
like,
blues.
You know what I'm saying?
Love blues.
Sure.
And that's like, blues is like the father of a lot of other genres.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Would you say gospel is blues?
Definitely.
Okay.
I would say like Clarksdale, Mississippi, like in that area, that's like where I think a lot of it kind of started. But yeah.
David Banner.
Yeah. All of them.
Let's try to think of any other famous people from Mississippi.
You got Sam Smith.
Okay.
I'm not talking about it wrong. Sam Smith, Clarksdale, Mississippi. Sway Lee.
Sway Lee
is from Tupelo.
Yo, Sway Lee don't be rapping.
Elvis Presley, Tupelo. So like, I mean, it's
Sway Lee from Mississippi. Literally the biggest song in music history, which is Sunflower.
For real?
One of the biggest songs in music history.
Wow,
in terms of like
that's crazy.
Most consumed records.
Hometown, bro.
Okay, hey, Tupelo's on the map, man.
Yeah, we on the map for sure.
Disrespect on it. So talk about growing up in. How do you say the name? Saltillo. How do you say
Saltillo.
Saltillo.
My fault. Yeah, Saltillo.
My bad. I'm like, yo, man, just get this Georgia boy off the screen. He is from Gibbs to Saltillo. He is bumbling. All right, go ahead.
But nah, so yeah, I kind of missed your question again.
Like, talk about growing up in Mississippi. Like I said.
So yeah, it's pretty much y'all. Please don't kill me for this, my Mississippi people. It's nothing to do, right? But sing, ride dirt bikes, 4-wheelers, hoop, like just kid stuff. Being outside playing, like it's pretty much it. So I think a lot of what I got out of Mississippi, of course, is the music and the hooping.
Sure.
A lot. I didn't really ride a lot of dirt bikes and stuff. Maybe with cousins every now and then, but just music and playing basketball, bro.
I mean, I've been in the house that I've been. Is that the house you grew up in?
Yeah. Well, so we moved there my senior year, but same spot, like 5 minutes.
Ain't a lot. They in Mississippi, but hey, they might as well be in Johns Creek over here.
For real?
Hey, might as well be in Buckhead.
Don't do that, bro.
State,
don't do that.
Not too much.
Don't do that. Nah, bro. Don't do that. Nah, I need to see your crib. That's what we need to see.
Humble times for the Harris family. No, but I was like, when I met you, I saw a warm father and mother. It felt like, man, when I like who you are, and I saw them, I was like, oh yeah, this makes.
They still ask about you, and I joke with them all the time. I was like, y'all have no idea who was sitting on y'all's couch, bro. And they talk about you all the time. And one thing I can appreciate you for, every time I see you at an event, and it's something I picked up from you too. Every time I see you at an event, I'm like, what's up, OG? How you doing? You're like, what's up, bro? How's your family? How's your mom and your pops? And I'm like, if a guy who has this many accolades and is doing all of this for the kingdom is so personable to be able to ask me and care enough to ask, then why am I not doing that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's something I picked up from you too, bro.
Thank you,
for
man.
sure.
I felt a genuine warmth and like, as someone who, me and Meah talk about this all the time, like I care about specifically my young black men, as I see you, and I'm like, man, at 22, I didn't have a Melodic B to listen to at 22.
Wow.
I didn't have all these different artists, so I didn't know how to be a young black man, be a Christian at 22.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So now I'm like, wow, I want to encourage my brothers and give y'all
Wow.
a little bit of game, and we sharpen each other. So
Yeah.
And when I saw you, I saw your parents. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I see them. See, oh, this is like a legacy of faith.
Wow.
Being built. You know
Makes
what I'm saying?
sense,
Which
man.
is good for our culture to have more people that, yeah. So talk about growing up in that house, man, growing up with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, pastor. My dad's a pastor. Like my mom grew up in church, but I think our household was just like, it's loud. Just a lot of joking around, laughing, a lot of Bible stories, and growing up, that's pretty much what it was. Like it was nothing to hear my mom up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning praying over the house.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
gotcha.
That was normal
That
for
was
us,
normal.
right?
Okay.
Just that whole vibe. So like that's how it was growing up. Bro.
I know, Meah, you obviously, we can all relate. You're a church
Yeah.
kid. Like, talk about, do you see, like, I know you've talked about how there was moments where, not necessarily pressure, but like the church bubble, Christian kid environment.
Yeah.
Do you see a little bit of, was there any like parts of that could have been done better? You know what I'm saying? As a young kid, parts about it that were like, man, I wish I would have had access to these other things in the world or culture, you know, for you.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
Because I mean, sometimes the critique is we live the sheltered life.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And what do we miss? I mean, that's a good thing, but
no, yeah, it now it's a good thing. I do think that it would have maybe even creatively broadened your horizons. Like I couldn't watch certain things, couldn't listen to certain things.
Facts.
Maybe you can
Same.
relate to that. You know what I'm
Same.
saying? So I wish that now I had to like up on like even like some like my black movies. Like I just watched Friday for the first
Bro.
time. You know what I'm saying? So like
what's the,
little things like that. You know?
What's the movie
that's crazy.
with T.I. and Lauren
ATL.
London?
ATL.
I just watched that 2 weeks ago.
This is amazing. Y'all having a moment right now.
You know what I'm saying?
Because my parents, I'm the same thing
Couldn't
probably
do
for
it.
you. Yeah.
Couldn't do
Yeah.
it.
Was it like that for you at
The
all?
same thing. It's a bunch of songs. Like we would. Okay, so 3rd, 4th grade, they had the iPods. I didn't have an iPod. So my peers, of course, they coming to school learning Chief Keef songs, and I'm trying to act like I know the songs. I'm like, I have no idea
know a single one.
what
Yeah.
y'all singing. I don't know who this is. But movies the same way. And I thank God for that shelter. I think what happens a lot though, when a lot of PKs do finally get that freedom, we do want to dibble dabble in some of the stuff we missed out when we were younger. But I do think the verse does not fail itself when it talks about training the child up in the way it should go. They won't depart from it. So I do think that we find our way back, of course. But I do think there's like from my testimony, there was a time in my life where I'm like, yo, I'm free now. Like I can do what I want.
Talk about that time. Like, tell me how that felt.
College, bro.
College.
Playing ball. Of course, females, just all type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm at the time, Pearl River and Delta State was either 2.5 or 4 hours away. Pearl River was 4 hours away from home. So it wasn't a situation where my pops can come and jack my collar up if I'm tripping. Like,
You're on your own.
I'm on my own.
You a man now. Or
for real. That's what I thought. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, going out to parties, doing what they do at parties. And that was just what I was trying to figure out. Was never into drugs or anything, but females was the thing, bro.
For sure.
Like, and now I'm able to experiment. Like I can kind of figure it out like right now. So, and then eventually, I got back on track. Thank God he jacked me up when he did.
What did that look like at that moment that you got back on track? Because
that's a story too, bro. So I'm a drummer, right? Take y'all through a little story time.
Ahead.
I'm a drummer. There was a time, there was a church service that I was asked to come and play the drums for. So at the time, I'm still playing ball. So I leave practice and I'm headed to this service and I'm pulling up to the church just to get a check, right? So I'm about to play the drums for this worship set. I'm getting a check and I'm gonna dip. Something told me, and of course I know now that something was the Holy Spirit. Something told me to stay. So at the time, there was a prophet. It was a revival. There was a prophet that preached that revival. At the time, I'm kind of unaware how I feel about prophets because of the end times. It talks about it's gonna be a lot of false prophets. I ain't really trying to hear about a lot of stuff, right?
It's supposed to be goofy with that prophet.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, there's a little goofiness out here.
Ace, bro, it felt like everything he said that night was like a sword straight into my stomach. Dang. And it was like I was sitting there, and I'm like, how does a holy God that's so righteous and just so powerful and has so much other stuff to worry about still allow me to wake up and live to try again? And I'm like, God, I'm sorry. From that point on, bro, I probably made the last secular beat, the last secular song that day, whatever. That was a Friday, bro. That next Wednesday, Fill Me Up by Sajay blew up. That was the first gospel record we put out. That night, insane. I promise you, that night I told God, I'm in tears, I'm crying, just outer body experience. I'm like, yo, like, use me. Yes, I throw away everything. Like, I don't want nothing else from the world, bro. Like, use me, please use me, right? Then next week it happened.
Wow.
Very next week.
Sheesh, man, yeah.
Yep.
That's great. And how was your soul feeling after that song took off?
It made sense. It made sense. Time on earth for us is key. When we say that God is never, he's always on time. Like that's so true. And he jacked me up when he needed to, for what was to come. And to be honest, bro, the temptation after you give your life to Christ, I feel like it starts then.
It does. That's
you know what I'm saying?
That's the real.
Once
you have conviction,
right? That's the difference.
You're more, sensitive to sin in a way that you weren't before. So
that's
you're like, oh man, what's going on?
And now you got something to fight for.
Sure, because before you were just whatever. I'm going in, and there's nothing to. So now, there's the enemy's not going. It's actually harder because now when you're going in your own path, the enemy's like, great. Yeah, it's not opposition because you're opposing God. Yeah, but when you start to follow him, then he's like, right, and anything to do to kind of. So talk about like the that moment. How did your parents feel once you started to turn a corner?
I actually spoke to him about it later. They was like, we knew, we prayed for you.
Oh, so they didn't really know where
it was like, it was just right on time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the Bible verse never fails itself, right? If you train up a child away, he should go. He will never depart from it. So it's like, he will not depart from it. So it's like, it was just a matter of time. Prayer works, right? And like I said, God literally snatched me up in the time that he did.
So I actually have a question for both of y'all because I need some advice because I grew up as a Christian kid. But my parents were African, so they didn't know how to shelter. Yeah. So we saw a lot of things. Yeah. But we didn't go too far. So now I got 10-year-old, almost 8-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And I think shelter gets a bad rap. The word in its completeness really means protection from stuff that can harm us. Yeah. How would you guys give me advice as a dad of young boys wanting to raise them in a way that's protective, but not too overprotected? How would y'all, because y'all are younger than me, so I'm like, okay, what could be helpful for a dad with kids trying to raise them in the things of Christ? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm not talking out of experience because I have no children.
But more as a young man,
from what I can speak off of what I experienced as a child, I would just say lead by example. The same way my parents would tell us not to listen to these songs or they wouldn't let us watch these movies, they also weren't. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't a situation where it was a hypocrite spirit or anything. I'm actually seeing the way my dad treats my mom and the way these songs are not reflecting that, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's what it was. It was just a way of life. Don't touch the hot stove. You see, I'm not touching it. It's just,
that's good. Dang, he's got to give up your hip hop, bro. That's kidding. Burn those CDs, throw them in the campfire.
For real. All we had was Ricky Dillard, Ty Tribbett, J Moss, Clark Sister.
Wow.
J Moss, bro. If I can work with J Moss, I can
see some of that.
That's all I listen to. Ty Tribbett, J Moss, bro. They were like the guys, man.
I feel it, man.
Okay, so you talked about when the prophet spoke to you and you said you left everything, did a whole Saul to Paul situation, right?
Right.
I'm curious to then what your journey then now creating your last secular beat, now going into, you know, doing things for God. What did that journey look like for you? How was it navigating that?
Of course, I talk about it when I explain it to people. It kind of felt like a motivational turn because the real battle started after that. Now, since the tears are gone, now since the you know, the feeling of the Holy Spirit not being as, you know, just so emotional now, I'm headed back to school. I'm back on the basketball team. I'm seeing the same girls. Like, now that's when it started. So now the temptation, like I said, to go back and do some of the things I was doing, create some of the same stuff, like, now that's starting to come. And I had to, and it's funny because intentionality is probably something that God has been trying to get me to jump at for a while. I had to be intentional about the people I hung out with, the conversations I partake of, the stuff I saw, the events I went to, right? Because I knew the devil is cunning, right? And he uses those little small things. It may not be abrupt, but those little small things, they, you know, they join together and they begin to be this huge thing that just takes you the other way, you know? So I had to watch that, like, watch those little small things. Nope, that's a trigger. I've been there before, right? I know if I watch that, then you know, something's gonna happen tonight.
Sure,
you know what I'm
sure.
saying?
For sure,
So,
yeah, real spill.
yeah.
And so like, fill me up being like, you know, going crazy. And you had produced that, recorded that, and worked on it with Sajay. At that point, were you trying to, I know you like are making like Christian music as a producer. At what point are you starting to put your own songs out?
So I was an artist before that, as a secular artist or whatever. So like I said, most of my time was, at that period of my life, was producing music. Pretty much, I would say after that song, I started to record myself after the song Promises she put out. So it was probably a year since I had done anything for myself.
Right.
And then Promises dropped. Now I want to say, I don't know if Rain was after that or if it was another record. But around that time, it was somewhere around that time, I started to kind of dibble and dabble in my artistry again.
Well, why such a year wait?
I don't know.
Was it intentional?
I don't know.
Just wasn't time.
Being in the moment,
right.
Seeing what God was doing in her life, and I'm like, yo, this is a wave, let's run. You know, so we were recording every day, type stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I think it all happened for a reason.
Yeah,
I don't know. So
yeah, we'll talk about how Rain came about, because that record, I believe you played it for me before.
We were here, bro, and
Studio
I played
B,
it.
Right.
So that record came about. It was in the moment, not playing, just me singing and rapping about what I was dealing with at the time. In my apartment, my old apartment in Fayetteville, Georgia. This was like 2:00 in the morning. My roommate is asleep. I'm yelling in the living room, "Rain, Holy Spirit, I need you to rain," pretty much. The record was so powerful. I had never up until that point produced, recorded, mixed, and mastered a song in one night.
Oh my goodness.
I knew it was something when I sent it to my little brother. My little brother is like 5 years younger than me. He plays on the basketball team in my hometown. I sent it to our family group chat. He's showing it to his friends at school.
Oh.
I was like, yep, got me one. So
wow,
that's kind of what it was. Showed my best friend. He's like, yo, like, when you putting this out? And funny story is, I was gonna sell that or try to sell that song to Ty Tribbett. So when I showed my dad, he was like, I can hear Ty Tribbett on this joint. A few nights later, I have a dream about Ty Tribbett, me selling the song, playing the song for Ty Tribbett and selling it to him. I played it for my best friend. He was like, bruh, if you give that song to Ty Tribbett, I'm gonna kill you. That's what it was. So hopefully, Ty, we could get a remix or something. But that's kind of how it came about, bro.
And when did you know, because it kind of went, it went viral.
Yeah,
like it popped
went
off
pretty quick. Yeah.
How did that feel like when you start seeing the reaction online?
I don't know, man. It was crazy. I was actually asleep. It was a Sunday when it went viral. Sunday naps, nothing hits like a Sunday nap.
Man, nothing. I missed those.
Man, bro,
Undefeated.
I was asleep, woke up, and my phone is going berserk. Like, it's just like, bzz, and it was on TikTok. Bzz, bzz. I'm like, who is calling my phone? Did somebody die? Like, Lord Jesus. Looked on TikTok. people sharing it, commenting, all of this stuff. And it dropped that Friday. I'm like, I gotta hear it and get this joint out of here. But yeah, that's what the moment was.
And did you know, like, strategy wise, how to like respond?
Nope. Nope.
Talk about that. Like, I think some going viral is one thing. Following it up is another thing.
It's a different breed, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning on how to just capitalize on the momentum in the moment. But I did terrible at strategizing. It was just like so I knew I had a great song. What it ended up doing, I had no idea it would do that, right? I had seen it months before happen to Sajay, and she handled it like a G, you know what I'm saying? And I learned a lot of stuff, you know, how she dealt with it, how she followed up and all of that. But when it happened for me, bro, I'm just like, I'm just a producer. Like, am I ready to perform this for real? Am I ready to like, that's what it was.
But you had been an artist. What about this moment made you kind of unsure to step into
it? Had been a while, bro.
Okay.
It had been, like I said, a year since I had recorded, years since I had performed.
Were you doing content like that?
No. No, my Instagram was terrible. It was bare. It might have been a video of me outside my house posting that fit I had on. Like, it was nothing. Like, strategize, there was no plan at all. So if you have a song artist that you think may go somewhere, plan, please.
Yeah, it's also pretty cool like that.
Yeah,
it seemed like the Lord used that song in that moment to kind of jumpstart you as an artist. Because I mean, at the time, you know, I had known you more as a producer, as a songwriter, and I was like, okay, he got some songs. I heard, like, it's cool. But then I was like, when I did Her Rain, I was like, oh, maybe it's a little different.
Yeah,
and I think it is good because I feel like it's like your style is like it's not necessarily R&B or hip hop. It's like melodic. Essentially, it's like a style, right?
Yeah,
it's like I kind of call it like pain music for the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of how I resonate with it. So I feel you got something good. I kind of want you to lean into that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like your younger brother and whatever the artist or person that has like the raw wave in their playlist, you're like that.
Bro, you might be on to something, bro.
That's like, let me go get some of this.
If you tired of listening to raw wave, come on my way, man. I got some stuff for you.
I think it's necessary. Yeah, I think it's necessary. So tell me a little bit about what you got working on, what you're working on now, what you're looking forward to.
Some exciting stuff, bro. Of course, I'm producing projects and albums and EPs and all of that stuff. But I got some exciting records of myself that I'm excited to put out. I'm kind of stepping into that executive role a little bit. Okay. Like, I think it's kind of cool because I'm starting to really love like music business and kind of how that works. So we'll be talking, me and you'll be talking a lot. I got a lot of questions. But that's pretty much it, bro. I'm excited for I'm trying not to tell too much.
That's cool.
But there's some artists that I'm working with, dope artists, of course, that have some projects coming out that I'm a part of. So
that's dope, man.
Yeah.
But definitely, man. I don't know. Definitely say anything. Last final words to encourage people, man. Anything that you want to leave people with on this episode and to our audience. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing today is, and this probably has nothing to do with what we talked about today. Treat everybody the same. The people who can offer you the world. And someone who can't offer you nothing at all, treat everybody the same. That's it. You never know how the cards will turn out. You never know who God will use to be vital in your life and who in somebody else's life he'll use you to be vital in theirs. So, yeah.
That's dope, man. Yeah. And how can the people find you, man? Drop your handles and everything.
Man, yeah, Instagram _Melodic B, TikTok Melodic B, YouTube Melodic B. It should be Melodic B everything. So. Got it. Y'all go check me out, man.
Well, it was a pleasure talking with you, man.
Thank y'all for having me.
Everything you put your hand and heart to. This is the 116 Life on Holy Culture Radio, Sirius XM channel 140. Here at Melodic B, Meah Evans. See y'all next time, y'all.